who needs what when it comes to the transfer portal. The beautiful part about the transfer portal, you can treat it just like Publix. You go down the aisle and see what's in stock. You pick it out for your football team. Great, we've upgraded now. Now, the issue with this second portal window is a lot of people have been through those Publix aisles now. And you say, well, there's a little bit less in stock still. There's something for you in the portal, but who needs what for this second portal wave? I think a couple teams have a couple of needs. Let's start with the other school that I thought was in the mix for Tyler Buckner, and that's the Auburn Tigers. And Coach Freeze pretty much drew a map for us and said, here's what we're going to do in the portal. He said, I want to go after someone in the secondary, to paraphrase. So they're open to a corner. They're open to a safety. They're going to go after some kind of secondary help in Auburn, Alabama. Now, the reason why this is a reality, one, Hugh Freeze said it, but two, you have to be elite on the back end in the SEC. Why? Because you play against freak show athletes on the outside offensively every single week. It's just the reality living in the SEC. You got to be able to have guys that can run with the other fast guys on the other side of the line of scrimmage. So Hugh Freeze is making it clear, hey, I don't know that we have what we need right now just yet. Keep an eye on what pops into the portal here in the next couple of days. Keep an eye on how quickly Auburn moves on getting some of these guys some visits. To be clear, I think Auburn will be active in the portal at a multitude of positions. Ben Bryant now could be a guy that Auburn looks at the quarterback position. But yeah, Auburn going to go after some secondary help. Good for the Tigers. Coach Freeze making it very clear we want some more help on the back end. Now, another team that's in the market on, I guess I'll go south a little bit further, Miami Hurricanes. They're looking for a deep threat wide receiver in my mind. They want a wide receiver one. Colby Young is someone they have been encouraged by so far throughout spring football, and someone they could potentially take another step forward. But for what they want to do offensively this coming year under Shannon Dawson, they want to be air raid-esque in their concepts. They want to push the ball downfield. They need somebody that can turn on the burners, make that safety pay when he creeps up just a little bit too much to try and defend the power run game. So the guy that I'm watching for this is Xavier Henderson. I told you about him last show that we had, a guy from the Florida Gators, from the Miami area, has some real deal track speed, about 6'4", 195 pounds. Keep an eye on him for Miami. I think he's a guy that the Canes could go after. But if it's not Xavier Henderson, it needs to be somebody. They have to upgrade at the wide receiver position because you got Tyler Van Dyke, I believe, for one more year, and you need to maximize his ability. I don't think you have an issue at quarterback at Miami, contrary to what you saw a season ago. I think you got to get somebody for him to throw the football to. So Miami, the ball's in your court. Got to go get yourself a deep threat wide receiver. Everyone tuned in right now, make sure you're subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel. Talk ball here every single day. You love it. We love it. So naturally, we talk about it every single day. So thank you for that. Also, follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at JDPakel. Another team that I believe is in the market right now is the Texas Longhorns. And I think they're looking for a pass rusher. Not just a good defensive lineman, but someone that can wreak havoc for them off the edge. Because the defensive line itself is solid. They added Trill Carter from Minnesota. They got Tavondre Sweat. Got some pieces on the defensive line. But last year, Texas had a 5% sack rate. It's good for 101st in the country. For Texas to take the next step, for them to be one of those teams that competes for a Big 12 title and is able to compete for a college football playoff spot, they have to have someone that can be a disruptor and get after the quarterback through the transfer portal. Now, they got some young bucks that could be an option for them. Justice Finkley, a guy that gets thrown around a lot for them. So we'll see his development, and if they end up making some moves in the portal, that should tell us all we need to know about how comfortable they feel at that edge position. But if Texas can go get a pass rusher, man, that could really be the missing piece for them on defense because they're solid on defense. The cupboard is not empty on defense for Texas. But if they can get somebody that could really be a game changer off the edge, that could really be a missing ingredient for them. And offensively, they're going to score points. So if they can have someone that can make the other quarterback uncomfortable, Texas could be in very good shape. Staying in that same vein, the Gamecocks of South Carolina. They're a team that we're very high on here. We don't show, I'll rephrase that. we have a fair amount of bias here. We're not journalists. Like, we have teams that we like, and South Carolina is one of the teams that I like, to keep it a buck with you. I love Shane Beamer. I love his culture. I love what he's doing. They've overachieved the last 2 years. The roster is now starting to catch up with what they expect to get done. Listen, they have allowed 200 yards per game last season. It's good for 117th in the country. They lost Jordan Birch to Oregon, who was a big-time recruit out of high school. That's a big-time loss for them. They added Jaron Willis from Ole Miss. The thing for South Carolina, they need to add something in the defensive trenches to give them a little bit better of a jumping off point personnel-wise there. Because allowing 200 yards a game in the SEC, it's not going to cut it. For all that you have at South Carolina, for as well as your recruiting, for having Spencer Rattler on your team right now at quarterback, for having Juice Wells on the outside, if you can't stop the run in the SEC, you're just going to bleed out week in, week out. They got to get better in the trenches. So whether it's adding another linebacker, whether it's adding some more guys on the defensive line, I think South Carolina needs to be a buyer when it comes to the transfer portal for guys in the defensive trenches. Just has to happen. The SEC will eat you alive if you don't have some sort of presence in the defensive trenches. I believe in Shane Beamer. I believe they will do it, but I think that's something they should be shopping for before this portal window wraps up. So those are the teams that I think need what they need. Secondary help at Auburn, a deep threat wide receiver at Miami. I think Auburn needs to also potentially add a receiver, but for the Texas Longhorns, I think they need a pass rusher, a game-changing pass rusher. And then for the South Carolina Gamecocks, would love to see them just a little more sirloin in the trenches there, whether at linebacker or on the defensive line. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.